Okay, good afternoon, students, and today we're going to be having discussion on active and passive voice. So I'd like you to pay attention to this lesson. But before we go into the lesson of today, I'd like someone to remind us what we did yesterday. Yes, Pamela?
Yesterday we discussed narrative essay.
Okay,
And
so,
we did an activity.
so what did you learn about narrative essay? What is a narrative essay?
I learned that a narrative essay, what a narrative essay is, it's basically like a writing.
Michael, welcome to the class. Welcome to the class. Thank you. I'll soon share my screen. Just give me a few minutes.
Okay, sir.
Thank you. All right, yes, continue. Pamela.
So a narrative essay is basically like a write-up that describes an event, and it can be written in either third, first, or second person.
Thank you. So that is narrative essay. We have different voices or perspective through which a story is told. The first person point of view, where the personal pronoun I is used, second person you, third person he, she, and then we have third person limited and third person omniscient. In today's class, we are going to discuss on what I call active and passive voice. Can we repeat the topic together?
Active
and passive voice.
Thank you. Now, when we say that a voice is active in English, what do we mean? Can somebody tell me? And when we say that a voice is passive, what does that mean? Yes, Oren?
An active voice means when the narrator or the voice in the story is constantly speaking, or they're always there, while passive is maybe after every interval in the story.
Okay, you have an idea, but not entirely correct. Yes, another person? Active, yes.
Alright, so an active voice is basically the reader is, or the writer is currently speaking, and then passive is maybe what the writer or someone has said previously.
Okay, yeah, partially correct as well, but that's not entirely correct. Now let's move on to what active voice is in English. So today, when we say a voice is active, look at the screen. The subject performs the action. When we say that a voice is active, it means that the subject of the sentence performs the action. You know, in a typical sentence in English, we have what we call SVO, where S stands for subject, V stands for verb, and O stands for object. So when you have a sentence where the action is being performed by the subject, we describe such as what we call subject or active voice. So active voice is the subject performs the action in the sentence. Let me share my screen, please, so that Michael can benefit. So in active voice, the subject performs the action. In an active voice, the active voice is actually very direct. It is very strong and it is very clear. And it is the most common voice that we use in English. For instance, when you speak, you say, the dog chased the ball. The dog is the subject, chase is the verb, the ball is the subject, is the object. Now the dog is the subject performing the action of what? Chasing. And then the action is received by the ball, which is the object. So that makes it the subject, verb, and object. Wherever the subject performs the action in the sentence, we describe such as what? Active voice. Do we understand?
Yes, sir.
Now we have another example. Maria wrote the essay. Maria wrote the essay. Maria is the subject, of course. Wrote is a verb, and the action of writing is received by the object essay. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
So any time you find a subject performing the action in a sentence, we describe such as active voice. So we move on to the second part of the voice, which is what we call passive voice. Now, to move from active to passive, something will have to move. We have to move from the subject will have to move or switch from the subject position to the object position, and the object will have to move from the object position to the subject position, which we are going to discuss that in the process of converting from active to passive. Now, for the passive voice, the subject receives the action. It's no longer the one performing the action. The passive voice shows that the action is done to the subject. The person doing the action or the agent may be missing. Now, I'm going to get to a point where you need to understand the relevance of active voice and passive voice. When you want to write an essay, for instance, what voice do you need to use the most? When you want to write summary, for instance, in English, what voice do you need to use the most? And when you just want to have conversation, what voice do you need to use? Oftentimes, you go to the court, and then you find the judge, delivering judgment, or the lawyers, and then sometimes you wonder how they are able to manipulate their cases such that it favors the client or whoever they are supporting. That's because they use one of these voices to do what? To present their cases in the court of law. I'm going to explain that deeper as we go further in our lesson. So we now know, or we now understand the difference between active voice and passive voice. Can somebody give me the difference in the class? Yes, Baby Leke.
So an active voice is like a direct, strong, clear. This is the most common voice that we use. Like when we're speaking.
Yes, I know. What happens to the subject to be called active?
The subject that's performing.
Thank you. The subject is performing the action when it is called active. But when we call it passive, what happens?
The subject receives the action.
Thank you. The object now becomes or comes to the place of the subject in that sentence. Okay. Now we are moving on to the next point, and we can see from this example, the ball was chased by the dog. Remember that in the active voice we said that the dog chased, right? The ball. The dog chased the ball. It was the active voice. But here, as we are converting it from active to passive, it becomes the ball was chased by the dog. Look at the second one. The essay was written by Maria. Now look at these sentences, the two sentences. What do you notice that is actually new in this sentence that was not in active voice? Yes, Pamela?
The sentence is starting with the object.
Thank you. That's one. Any other one? Yes?
It's in past tense.
It's in past tense. Thank you. Any other points? Look at the sentence. You're going to find that. Find something new that is there that was not in the previous sentence. Active voice. Yes?
An extra word.
What is the word?
Was.
Thank you. Words. What of speech is words, please? Yes?
Verb.
Verb. What type of verb is it?
Past participle.
Auxiliary verb. Thank you. Or helping verb. Thank you. So we introduce the use of auxiliary verb in the sentence. And then we also introduce what we call preposition by, right? And then the position of the subject moves to the object position while the object moves to the subject position, right? Now let's move on to the next slide. So how do we convert a sentence from active voice to passive voice? There are basically 3 steps. How many steps? 3 steps. The first one is move the object. The first thing we need to know is to move the object. So the object of the active sentence becomes the subject of the new passive sentence. The object of the active sentence. So if we say that the dog chased the ball, and we call the sentence active voice, right? So now we want to change or convert this from active to passive. So what do? We are saying that the object, which is the ball now, of this active sentence becomes the subject. It has to come to this point. Become the subject of the new passive sentence, right? So that's what we now have. The ball was chased by what? By the dog. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Now the second step is act to be verb. Act to be verb. You see all this be, do, have, was, is, are. They are all the verbs that will help you, express meaning when you are converting from active to passive voice. Look at this example. So add the verb to be. For instance, am, is, are, was, were, been in the correct tense. Like this case now. The boy was chased by the dog. Was not there before. Look at it. In the active voice, was is not here. But as we are converting from active to passive, we introduce what? Was. Do we understand?
Yes, sir.
Now the last step is change the main verb. Change the main verb. Change the main verb to its past participle. If it was present tense, to past. If it was past, to participle. It was participle to past perfect until you get to the end of the verb. But you can't allow the verb to be retained in the state where it was at the time the voice was active. The tense must change from present tense to past, or to participle, or to past perfect, depending on what it was in the active voice. Meaning that you cannot leave a verb in its natural state when you are converting from active voice to passive voice. Do we understand?
Yes, sir.
Alright. Yes, question?
Yeah, for the step 2 you said that we have to use am, is, are, was, were, been. Are there other verbs that we could use in place of that?
Yes, I'm going to give you an example. Because apart from these words, it could be word depending on the subject. Let's assume if you have plural subject, like the teachers chase the students, right? Now, so when you want to convert it, what do you say?
The student was chased by the teacher.
Students.
Where
The teachers chased the students.
The students were chased by the teacher.
Can you see that? They are no longer using words because in the rule of grammar, singular subject attracts singular verb, and plural subject will also attract plural verb. So it depends on the tense, depends on the subject that you are using. If you have plural subject, of course, it's going to attract plural verb when you are changing it from converting it from active to passive. Do we understand? Now, the next thing I want to show you is the table that shows all the tenses that you need to use when you are converting from active to passive voice. Now, this is how your work will be. So, from simple to simple past, from simple past, present continuous, past continuous, present perfect, future, and modal. Now, let's take a look at this. Let's assume you have this in the active voice. Write. This singular verb, write, or plural verb, write. It means moving it from active voice to passive voice, it will change to is written or are written. Now, if it was wrote in active voice, it will change to was written or were written, depending on whether it is singular or plural. If it was is writing, which is present continuous, it will change to is being written. And if it was writing, it will change to was being written. As written will become has been written. Will write becomes will be written. And then look at this modal verb. The modal verb must. You know that must is an example of modal verbs. There are basically how many types of modal verbs? 9. We have shall, should, right? We have can, which is what the other one will be what?
Could.
Then we have will to what?
Would.
We have may to what?
Does.
Might. We have then, how many do we have so far? Then we have must. So count, how many do we have there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So these are the modal verbs that we have that you need to use depending on what you are converting in English. Alright. Now finally, why do we need to use passive voice in English? That's the question. Because oftentimes we study English language topics and we don't know why we are studying it. We just think, okay, it's just grammar, let me just go to school, learn grammar, and then learn how to write. That's not all. Every topic in English language can be applied to life, like real life experience. For example, anytime you want to write a story, like the topic I taught you yesterday, narrative essay, you need to use more of passive voice. Do you understand? You need more to use more of passive voice when you're writing narrative essay. Do you know why? Because narrative essay tells a story. So to write something that will require lengthy of words, you need what? Passive voice. But if you need to write summary, for instance, when you are managing words or minimizing words, you need to use what? Active voice. Because active voice is shorter, concise, precise, brief than passive voice that is wordier, longer, and lengthier. Do you understand me? So, number one, when the action is unknown, you need to use passive voice. You don't want to reveal the character that is doing something terrible. For instance, in this class, let us when I come to this class, you say, the board was broken. All of you are in the class, or the board fell. Somebody fell the board, right? Somebody brought down the board. You say the board was broken or the board fell. How? What happened? By who? You don't say anything. You know, because you want to hide the identity of the person. So that's what passive voice will do to you. It will make you hide the person. For instance, the man was hit by a car. Somebody drove the car, but you decide to hide the person that maybe you could have said the man was hit by a drunk driver, but you don't want to mention that the driver was drunk. You didn't even want to mention the identity. You said the man was knocked down by a car. Is it there was a car driving itself? No. But because you want to hide the identity, you use what? Passive voice. Secondly, to sound objective or formal. Anytime you want to sound so objective and formal, you need passive voice. Anytime you want to avoid blaming someone for something, you need to use what? Passive voice. And then anytime you want to emphasize the subject, you need to use what? Passive voice. Now these are the live application for the topic, passive voice. But then what concerns us is more of active voice. Reason is that active voice is direct, is concise, and is engaging. You need active voice even as you also need what? Passive voice. You need both active and passive voice in your writing as a student. Active voice is direct, concise, and engaging. So I'm not going to recommend active voice over passive voice because you need both. You are writing an essay, for instance, you need passive voice more. You are going to use active voice in your writing, in your story, but you need more passive voice because to even create suspense, you need passive voice. Do you understand? But if you want to write summary now, when the examiner asks you to write 50 words, 10 words, 100 words, 120 words, like IG says it, what happens? You need more of what? Active voice. Because active voice will make your writing to be clear, to be concise, and to be engaging. It makes your writing stronger and easier to understand. Now let's read the sentences together. Can we read the first sentence on the board? Everybody, let's go.
The decision was made by the committee.
Read that again.
The decision was made by the committee.
How many words do we have there?
7.
Now read the active voice.
The committee made the decision.
How many words do we have there?
5.
Thank you. So the committee made the decision. 5 words. The decision was made by the committee. 7 words. One of them is longer than the other one. So to write a story that requires lengthy of words, you use what? Passive, and then you can bring in active. But to write something like summary that requires brevity of words, you need more of what? Active voice. Do we understand?
Yes.
So we're going to do a task now quickly, and then that task is going to be oral. So I'm going to call on you to answer the question, and then we look at the answers together. So look at these questions now. Convert the following sentences. If it is active, make it passive. If it is passive, make it active. So we have, I'm going to appoint students to answer this question. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So Baby Leke number 1 will take number 1 question. Sitona will take number 2 question. Nathan will take number 3 question. Pamela will take number 4 question. Michael will take number 5 question. Okay, so let's go. You are going to just say your answer, then we are going to confirm your answer with the mark scheme. After now. Yes, question number 1. Who is asking question number 1? Read out your question and then tell us the answer. The teacher will grade the papers.
The papers will be graded by the teacher.
The teacher will grade the papers. What voice is this?
Oh, this is active.
This is an example of active voice, I agree. So now you are changing from active voice to what? Passive. So let's see the change.
The papers would be graded by the teacher.
The papers will be graded by the teachers. Is actually a very correct way of converting this sentence, this voice from active to passive. Can we clap for Koeleke? Well done. Thank you. Now the second question, Itona.
The song was performed by the choir.
The song was performed by the choir. Now, what voice is this?
Passive voice.
Passive voice. Okay.
The choir performed the song.
The choir performed the song. Can we please clap for him? Thank you. Brilliant. Now, number 3. A new discovery has been made by scientists. Who is taking this question? Okay. What voice is this?
That should be
Passive. I agree. A new discovery has been made by scientists. So what do we change it to?
scientists have made a new discovery.
Brilliant. Can we clap for him? Scientists have made a new discovery. Brilliant. Thank you. Now let's look at number 4. Yes, Pamela.
The chef prepares the food.
Thank you.
I think that is passive. No, it's active.
Active. Thank you. Changing it to active passive now.
The food was prepared by the chef.
Thank you. Let's clap for Pamela. Well done. The food was prepared by the chef. Thank you. Now the last one. Michael, can you read your question, please, quickly? Michael, are you there?
The problem was solved by the students. The answer is the students solved.
The problem was solved by the student. What voice is that? Active or passive?
Passive.
Passive. Okay. Now what's the answer?
The students solved the problem.
The students solved the problem. Can we clap for Michael? Thank you. So this is what active and passive voice is about. Now we're going to review the lesson before I give you homework. So to review the lesson, I'd like to call on the student to just give us the summary of what we have done so far. Yes, can I hear you?
So today we learned about active and passive voices. So an active voice is where the subject performs the action, and a passive voice is where the subject receives the action. And then you have to convert active to passive, which includes, first of all, the first step to do that is to, number 1, move the object. Then you add to be verbs like am, is, are, was, were, been, and then you change the verb. For example, write to written and take to taken. Thank you.
Thank you. Well done, Pamela. Now we are all going to do this activity. It's not going to be homework. So we have 5 questions to complete. You are going to write this one down. Then I will go around to mark it quickly. So we have 6 to 10. Lions hunt zebras. The report was written by Sarah. The cat is chasing the mouse. The windows were broken by the storm. Everyone must read the instruction. So we're going to do this quickly. I give you 5 to 6 minutes to complete this task. Then we mark it and then see who scores everything correct before we end the lesson. So I'll give you 5 minutes.
Excuse me, Mr. Secretary.
Yes.
Could you state what happened?
Yeah, what you do is the first thing is you are changing it. Just change the voice from if it is passive to active or active to passive. That's what you are doing. So while that is going on, if you have questions to ask on this topic, I will entertain it. Yes?
So we have to identify if the original statement is passive or active.
Yes. No. If it is passive, you are changing it to active. If it is active, you are changing it to passive. So the first thing you need to know is to first of all identify what voice is that. Then you change it. You can't allow it to remain on that voice. Can I have another question in the class? Like on the topic, active, passive voice. This is how we master our voice when we want to write. Because English language is basically a subject that everybody needs, and it is from there that you hear that you build writing skill. Remember that in English language we have 4 basic language skills: writing, reading, speaking, and listening. So to write effectively, you need to be fully equipped with all the grammatical tools that will help you write very well, one of which is active and passive voice in English. So now that we have learned this, let me see how you demonstrate your understanding through this task. Done? And we are going to check if we've been able to achieve our lesson objectives at the end of the day. Because in our lesson objective earlier when we started, I said that all of us will be able to define active and passive voice. Yes, a student was able to do this. Then most of us will be able to identify the voice of a sentence. We did this, we achieved this. And then some will be able to understand the rules for converting active to passive voice. I'm sure we're able to do this. So when we are going to review the lesson again, you will confirm with me if we've achieved all these lesson objectives and outcomes. Okay, you are done? Lions hunt zebras. The report was written by Sarah. Come in.
Is it possible to add an extra word when you're doing this?
Yes, of course. We said that while you are changing from active to passive voice, you are going to add some words. Okay. Lions hunt zebras. I don't know who's. Nobody seems to get this. Lions hunt zebras. The zebras were hunted by lions. That does not sound. That's not correct. Lions hunt zebras. The zebras were hunted by lions. Is that correct? Okay. Who did this? Okay, I think we're going to just do the general marking now. Yes. So let's look at the mark scheme now. We're going to mark now. We're going to mark. Can you swap your notes? Let's quickly do the marking. You can use pencil to mark. I didn't bring my. So we're going to mark now. Have you swapped your notes?
Yes.
Okay, so here we go. Zebras are hunted. Do you know why this is correct? Because the active voice said lions hunt zebras. There was no auxiliary verb of to be verb. So when you are converting it from that active voice to passive voice, you are going to bring in this auxiliary verb are. So zebras are hunted by lions. It's very correct. Number 2, Sarah wrote the report. I think everybody got this, right?
Yes.
Then the mouse is. Who did not get this correct? Who didn't get it? Okay. So, what was the question? What was the question?
The cat is chasing the man.
Thank you. Was that the question? So you can see that was here is now saying because it is past progressive. That's why you have this progressive here. The mouse is being chased by the cat. Now we have the next one. The storm broke the windows. What was the main sentence or the voice?
The windows were broken by the storm.
What?
The windows were broken by the storm.
The windows were broken by the storm. So the storm broke the window, become active voice.
I thought it was thunderstorm.
No, storm, just storm. Now the last one, the instruction must be read by everyone. What was the
Everyone
voice?
must read the instructions.
So that was active voice, and then we changed it to passive voice, which is the instruction must be read by everyone. All right, who has question to ask on the topic? All right, in summary, now we can say that at this point in our lesson, every one of us can choose appropriate voice for his or her own writing. You know whether to use active voice in your writing or whether to use passive voice. It's not like somebody's pushing you to write with active voice or passive voice. You should know when to use passive and when not to use passive. You should know when to use active voice and when not to use active voice. That is our lesson outcome. So, you're going to just point out one point or one lesson that you have learned today based on this topic. I'm going to be calling students one after the other. So, what have you learned in our lesson today? Yes, Pamela?
I've learned that when I'm given a particular amount of words to write a sentence, or to write a summary, for example, that it's best to use active.
Thank you. When you are face to face with summary writing, the right and the best voice to use is active voice. Why?
Because active voice is shorter.
Because
less words.
thank you. Active voice is shorter.
But it's also more concise.
Thank you. Active voice is also concise and very brief. So in summary writing, we have learned today that if we are doing summary anywhere in IPCC summary writing or Cambridge Checkpoint summary writing or any summary writing task, we need to use active voice. What do you learn again? Any other person? Yes, Mamileke.
I also learned that when you're writing essays, like narrative essays, it's best to use passive because when you want to do like cliffhangers and suspense, it's much easier to use passive.
Thank you. Cliffhangers and suspense will work so much with passive voice because you can hide the identity, you can hide detail in using passive voice. So passive voice is actually very, very useful when you are engaging in narrative essay. That is the reason I had to teach you narrative essay yesterday, so that in today's lesson you learn the voice or what voice to use when you are telling or writing a story. Any other person? Yes, Genesis.
I learned how to convert from active to passive.
Thank you. So she has learned how to convert a sentence from passive voice to active voice and from active voice to passive voice. Any other person, please? Yes, any other person? Okay, so we have come to the end of our lesson today. I will continue some other time. I'm going to give you homework. I'm going to give you homework tasks on this particular topic. So please go to your classroom, Google Classroom. You will find homework tasks that you are supposed to do. Thank you.